Hey guys, my name is Vincent, and in this video I would like to talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. And the purpose of this video is to strictly educate and inform you guys about what is cognitive behavioral therapy. If you do experience depression or anxiety or any kind of symptom that you are trying to treat with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, I cannot strongly recommend enough that you go see a therapist or seek help from a healthcare professional. Do not look at this video as a way to treat yourself. This is purely for educational purposes. And so with that out of the way, I would like to begin by talking about the cognitive behavioral model. And this is a model that therapists and psychologists have agreed on, or some of them have agreed on, which is that our cognitions, our thoughts, influence our behavior. And what does this mean? So I want everyone to take a moment to look at this picture of this bear charging towards you. And just look at it and feel, what do you feel? If you were seriously in the wilderness right now and you saw this huge, ginormous, angry bear coming right at you, how would you feel? And hopefully the answer to that is you would be terrified and you would be running for your life and you would be sweating and your blood vessels would be dilating and your heart rate would be rapid and you would be breathing heavily and you would be totally stressed out because this is a fight or flight moment. You better be running for your life right now. If you're not, you're going to die. And in this case, the external event, which in this case is a bear charging towards you, has created a thought in you that I'm going to die. And this thought that I'm going to die creates a feeling or an emotion that I'm really scared for my life. And this emotion creates a behavior. And the behavior is that you are going to hopefully run for your life and make it out alive. And thinking about this from an evolutionary perspective, our brains have been hardwired to interpret these external events as the worst case scenario, essentially. Every time we see a stimulus that is bad or potentially harmful, we will be very afraid and we will be scared and we will be stressed out and we will respond appropriately to these emotions that we are feeling. And so focusing on this right here, this little side of the triangle where we have our thoughts being turned into emotions, is what cognitive behavioral therapy focuses on. It focuses on how can we start to change these thoughts that we previously perceive as being terrible events or things that are going to end up in us dying or catastrophic things happening. How do we perceive these and look at them more objectively? Because while we are hardwired biologically to respond to events like a bear charging towards us with fear, we quite often find ourselves living in a world in which we don't have to run for our lives day in, day out, because we're not on the plains of the Sahara Desert in Africa and we're not in some, forest. So this is the key thing to take away. And something that kind of adds another dimension to this for me is that as much as you look around and you see other people who seem really calm during very tense, stressful situations, they are probably very good at this part in the triangle here. Because if you think about this from the evolution or, Darwinian perspective, the people who weren't scared when a bear was charging towards them, their ancestors would have been killed because they wouldn't have run away. They would have just sat there and said, it's okay, I don't need to worry about it. So it is a very important thing to take home, is that these feelings of fear and stress that you experience and anxiety that you experience on a daily basis sometimes is normal, it is natural, it has been hardwired into your brain to think and perceive the world this way. So do not think for a moment that this is anything that other people don't experience. They do. And this charging bear is one example of an external stimulus that, no amount of CBT is ever going to make you not be afraid of a bear that's about to kill you, because fear of death is the most powerful motivator in life. And that is the emotion that we're talking about here. So we'll write this in just to be clear. So fear of death. And the thought is, I don't want to die. You're really afraid. So afraid would be the emotion that you're experiencing. And your behavior would be run for your life. And this is perfectly normal and natural to be feeling this way. The biggest issue that we run into in modern times, in the world that we live in which we're not chased by bears, is that we are misinterpreting a lot of these thoughts that we perceive as being these kinds of things, these very hyperbolic emotions that cause us to behave in unhealthy ways. And by unhealthy, I mean that we don't need to elicit such a huge fear response to a stimulus that probably isn't that bad to begin with. And so continuing with this example, or what do you do if you were to start taking cognitive behavioral therapy sessions, is the very first step is to start recognizing automatic negative thoughts. And they're called ANTs, ants. And these automatic negative thoughts are things like, someone on the freeway next to you cuts you off, and you feel, or you want to feel, extremely angry because you feel disrespected by this other person. And this automatic negative thought is that this guy personally wants to attack and offend you, and he is a terrible guy, and he is a total jerk. And it just creates this positive feedback loop inside of your head that you really just can't stand it anymore, and you're absolutely angry and furious about this. And the automatic negative thought here is that this guy personally wants to hurt you. And that causes very unhealthy behavior, such as you getting out of your car with a baseball bat and then hitting this guy's car because you are so angry about it. And so this is an example of the automatic negative thought. The automatic negative thought here is that the guy who just cut me off, or he just did something to me, is terrible and he needs to get hurt or something. That is an awful thought to think, and it's going to result in unhealthy behavior. And so the very first things you're going to be doing is just beginning to listen to your own thoughts in your head, because I like to think of your brain as a radio station. You always have thoughts coming and going, and you have the ability to exercise judgment in how you feel about these thoughts, because there's no way to really control what thoughts you're feeling. You will continue to have cognitions your whole life. How you label those cognitions is your choice. And that is the key thing that you hit home with cognitive behavioral therapy. How do you interpret your thoughts rationally? And what people will build up to are things called thought records. And thought records are where you really begin to write down and think critically about the kinds of thoughts that come into your mind and whether or not they help you or hurt you in the long run. And you spend a lot of time and effort practicing this ability, strengthening your mind's ability to interpret the thoughts that are going to keep coming and going. And that is what we get out of cognitive behavioral therapy and the cognitive behavioral model. I hope you guys find this video useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.